Get a beer now. There's people tuning in. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, bro. Hello, cheeseheads, and welcome to the Callers Cave Live. Unfortunately, the full-time whistle, the callers, Chicken Tikka Pathia, arrived from the Curryman, hence why we're slightly late in starting. So I take that on the chin, or all of my chins. Full apologies for that. Joining me tonight from up to north in Stoke is Seb. How are you?
I'm all right. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I actually said, yeah, I'll do it. I think when you asked me, it's because I thought I'd be one of them people going, "Way, we won," and just able to kind of let rip. And now I've committed to something, so I'm not going to let you down, caller. But bloody hell, the quicker we can get this over with, the better.
I felt a bit sad, really. This won't take long. There's not that much to cover from a Spurs perspective.
Let's see if we can make it last longer than Spurs' attacking threat through the entire 90 minutes. I reckon
we've
about
already
2.5 minutes should
We're done now. Brendan, good to have you on, mate. I know you've got a boat trip, so we're going to keep this short and sweet. How's Brazil today? Let's be nice first.
Brazil's lovely. I'll turn the camera around, maybe show you a bit of the window. I don't know if it will actually show. There's Brazil.
Oh,
it's nice, isn't it? It's Brazil. There's a boat waiting for me to take me away to forget about that final because it was a hard watch. I didn't realise we were recording already, but yeah, that was a hard watch.
It was a hard watch. Well, you wouldn't realise that. You're off on your boat in your head. So look, another final slips us by. What were you most disappointed about, Seb?
Look, I want to say it's a small thing, but it's really not because it set the tempo for the whole game. Every time we had a free kick, every time we had a throw-in, every time we had a goal kick, pretty much, it just came back. Not from Man City, from us. We passed it backwards. We had a throw-in the first half, 25 minutes in. I made a note of it. Right, on the edge of their area, and 5 seconds later, it was at Lloris's feet.
Mm-hmm.
Back to a midfielder, back to Højbjerg. Højbjerg looks back to Toby. Toby passes it back to Lloris. And it happened on free kicks. It happened on throw-ins. I get that you're trying to take the pace out of the game and you're trying to restrict City from having the ball and from moving the ball around. But when you have it, take the pace out of it, but at least attempt to move it forward. That was disappointment number one, and disappointment number two was to see Lucas Moura go off, who for me was the only one. And that poor man, he must wonder what he's got to do, because in one final, he doesn't start when he should have started. In the second final, he's the best player on the pitch and he gets taken off. I don't want to be disappointed because we all expected it, but I am, because we could have done better.
Look, I agree with it. Brent, firstly, how drunk are you today? Because I don't know what's going on these days. I just get messages saying, I'll watch your video if Drunk Brendan is on the camera. Give the people what they want, Brent. How many have you had?
Oh, I've lost count. Maybe 8. But I'm on the Amstel today. Amstel, and I just got a reserve of Brahma Duplo Mulch to depending how long
in reserve.
In reserve.
Yeah. But it's not a whole bottle of Bombay Sapphire this time. So sadly, I'm not going to fall off my chair or slur a lot. I'm just going to be angry.
I mean, that's what we need, if I'm honest, to cheer us up, really. Brent, do you think the ref cost us the game?
No. I mean, we can look at Laporte. Like he probably should have been booked earlier for one of the challenges blocking one of our counters. But that's clutching at straws to say the ref cost us the game. The game was lost because we just simply weren't good enough, and City just swarmed around us. It was rinse repeat. It was crazy. We were trying to play it out from the back, then pass it around the defenders, hit it long. They win it back, have a shot. Then we do it again. Hugo takes a goal kick. We pass it around a bit. Can't break the press. Go long. They win it back, and then they shoot. It was just, it was tough. We can't blame the ref for that. I mean, Laporte deserved the yellow. had he got the earlier yellow, he probably wouldn't have made the challenge.
That's it. That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
I think we're all lined up with that. I mean, there's people moaning saying Laporte shouldn't have been on the pitch. Well, in honesty, he should have got the yellow card. So that's kind of the ref's fault. But look, Brad, your son's in the camera.
It's Lucas. Hello. This is my Lucas. You want to say hello,
How
Lucas?
How you doing, Lucas?
Hello.
There you go. You've already added more value to the Tottenham Hotspur universe than your namesake, Lucas. So, Ryan Mason, then Seb. What do we make of that tactical masterclass? Because the second half, we proved that we could push up a little bit when we wanted to, and it seemed to be more of Jose tactics, really, and a very difficult watch first half. Was it Mason's tactics? Was City that good? What was the reason it was so poor in the first?
Well, I felt it was a little bit confused in the first half. We kind of set up in a 4-3-3, and weirdly, Højbjerg was kind of wide right. Now, I kind of got it because it was to double up on Sterling and Foden, who move over to that left-hand side for City, and to provide that kind of defensive cover for Aurier, who tends to kind of not be the most disciplined that we've seen. And then it kind of moved around a little bit, and it went to the 2 in defence with Lo Celso pushing a bit further up. But look, as much as you want to analyse it, the fact of the matter is that our midfield 3 isn't a patch on City's midfield 3. In fact, our entire team, I will say this, and I'm going to get a lot of stick for saying this, but we haven't got big game players. Son was appalling today. I mean, he was terrible, and not just crying at the end. He's fine, but he didn't offer anything.
Did he cry at
anything? Yeah, he was in.
He should have been crying at the end for his performance. He was. I'll
give you an idea. Right, one of the chances that we had, and it's not even a chance because we didn't fashion anything from it. Kane wins the ball. He looks to his left. Højbjerg is the one making the run on the left-hand side, and wide of him is Reguilon. Now, we all know that it balls up. Where was Son? Where is he? What's he doing? It's not even in shot. I mean, he was shocking. Kane, look, it's never good to play Kane when he comes back from injury because he takes 2 or 3 games to warm up, right? So Kane was your man to have actually on the bench today and to bring on at 60, 70 minutes. Yeah. He was terrible. He wasn't good at all. Lloris, Lucas, Dyer, and Toby were the only ones who can come out with a modicum of credit. I've forgotten what your original question was, caller. I'm just ranting.
I mean, so have I, if I'm honest. I think it was about Ryan Mason, and he's not going to get the job.
No, he started with the wrong lineup and he made the wrong subs. Harry Winks shouldn't have started. Harry Winks shouldn't have stayed on the pitch. Lucas Moura is the best player, shouldn't have come off. Tanguy, I don't know where he was. That's an odd choice. Dele coming on, Bergwijn coming on with a minute to play. Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, Bren. I'll let you speak now.
I think maybe inexperience showed there. I mean, I don't know. Bren, Harry Winks. I mean, I have been more than outspoken about Harry Winks over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, about the fact he's not good enough for Tottenham if you want to win things. Didn't today just underline the caller's kind of like credentials as the next manager of Tottenham Hotspur by stating that? Because he was terrible. Seb's covered it already, but our midfield was so regressive. There was nothing positive about that midfield whatsoever. So even I accept that City are this better side. They are a better side than us. Player for player, they are better on the ball than us. But when we get the ball, that just means we've got to use it better. And our midfield just looked to go backwards every time. And Winks does that every time. If we were playing Colchester, he'd be looking for the backwards pass. Tell me I'm wrong about Winks and tell me he's got a future at the club and I'm an idiot.
I'll be honest, I understood the Winks inclusion. I don't think that Tanguy and Lo Celso provide enough cover Højbjerg does the job of 3 players defensively. He needed some kind of support. So Winks, I guess he's a bit more disciplined defensively than Tongi, but I would have gone with Winks still. It clearly didn't work. I don't understand how he stayed on after half time when we were being overrun so much, but we were going to be anyway. But I just don't understand why.
Tongi is the kind of player who you get on the ball,
breaks the press,
and he can break the press. He plays expansively. He will get out. He will make a run. He will push forward. He's dynamic. Yeah. Lo Celso we thought was like that, but actually has been a poor man's Eric Lamela so far for us this season. In all honesty, why on earth would you include Winks? Justify your thinking. Justify yourself.
I think that we've seen that we can't play Tongi and Lo Celso together. They're 2 luxury players. So he probably went thinking that Lo Celso probably does a bit more in terms of the running and the pressing than Tongi would. So in that sense, it made sense. But he's not played well since he's come back from injury. I would have gone with Tongi. I said I was happy with Winks coming in to play alongside Højbjerg to provide a bit of cover. But in front of them, I wanted to see Tongi, because I think that he, like you said, he breaks the press. He can put his foot on the ball. He can shake off 2 players at the same time without you even knowing. Lo Celso doesn't do that, but he does put in a bit more effort than Tongi does. So I'm assuming that's why he went with Lo Celso over Tongi. I don't understand why we didn't see him come on, at least sort of in a half time. But I'll be honest, I understood the Winks inclusion just because we needed someone alongside Højbjerg that it was a bit more defensively sound and just put in a bit of effort.
Oh, why not Sissoko then?
Well, it was one or the other, like Sissoko's not been great this season
as far as I'm concerned as well, by the way, because he was absolute shite when he came on. Shite. The guy's got one move and one move only, and where was he, Seb, for the goal? Where was he? Where was his head at?
I don't know. Look, you can blame Sissoko, and it was his fault. You kind of wonder who gave him the instruction, kind of like the clipboard instruction. He's about to come off that. That's your man now at corners. But as well as that, why did no one spot it and shout it? You've got their centre back who does score goals from corners with headers, is wandering around with all the freedom of the 18-yard box. Why is no one noticing? I mean, it was a complete brain fart, not only by Sissoko, but for me, by the entire team. And unfortunately, as much as City overran us, that was the difference. 2 kind of lapses in concentration with the Aurier free kick. Yeah. I don't even really blame Aurier that much. You got a guy running around here, I think it was Sterling. Could have got overrun, put in a challenge that got blown for a foul. But I don't know. Look, if we analyse the free kick, it looks terrible, but that's not what beat us. The fact of the matter is that we don't have enough quality on the pitch, number one, and the quality that we do have, more often than not, in big games, does not show up. And I include Kane, and I include Son, and I include Reguilon, who's meant to be this potential world-class left-back, and Højbjerg, who's meant to be this fantastic defensive midfielder, but actually isn't good. He's not good on the ball. He's good without the ball.
Højbjerg has been terrible for the last 5, 6, 7 games. I'm sorry. He's a grit. He's an old-fashioned, gritty midfielder. But you're right, he's not good with the ball. He doesn't use it particularly wisely. I mean, today he didn't break up play at all, I didn't think. And that's kind of what he's there for. So I just... and I get it's hard. Man City are an exceptional side, so I'm not blaming him for today. Don't get me wrong. But all I'm saying is, I think the optimism we had after about 10 games with Højbjerg, for me, has evaporated. He looks very average.
I wouldn't say he's average, but I'd say that we're in a privileged position, us as podders, in that we try to analyse the game and we don't just watch it. We try and pick holes in it a little bit when it's going badly, and try to analyse things when they're going well and work out why they're going well. And Højbjerg started well, and I wouldn't say he's a bad player, and I'd still have him in any Tottenham starting 11. I still think he's been a very good signing, but he's being asked to do too much, and B, if you're trying to play through midfield, which today we were trying to do with goal kicks and things like that, the plan was to keep the ball, to pass to Lloris, take the pressure off, and then build through and play through Man City. Well, Højbjerg is not your man for that. No. Because if you pass it to Højbjerg looks for Toby Alderweireld. And then Alderweireld was hitting it. He was trying to hit Lo Celso and Mora, and it was just coming back. So what is Højbjerg offering in that sense? Not a lot. You know, it's I don't know. Look, I'm not picking holes in Højbjerg because he's far from the worst performer on the pitch.
That's what I've done.
Yeah. But we need. There's going to have to be some big decisions in the summer because that midfield needs a revamp. It doesn't. Broken. The ball doesn't come. The ball doesn't come to Son or Kane. You know, so as much as we're having a go at them, they're feeding off scraps.
Yeah.
And Winks was god awful today, as you said. I don't know how he survived the entire game, let alone the first half.
I do, because his mate Ryan Mason from the academy picked him. That's why.
We're all surmising
nepotism.
It's because they're similar players. That's not got anything to do with it, I don't think. But I think, you know, Højbjerg would be a stay, but you've really seriously got to work out what your midfield's going to be, because Lo Celso and Ndombele pretty much haven't got 90 minutes between them. I was surprised that for me, that boiled down to the fact that when Lo Celso came off, Ndombele should have come on.
I'm going to go so far as to say that I'm very glad that I did not win the raffle and get a Wembley ticket today, because I could have already predicted the outcome, and I wish I was wrong. I wish I was wrong, but I've been saying it all week. We're going to get outclassed. Let's go to some comments, because I'm conscious I don't want to keep us all night. We'll go for another 15 or so minutes. So, Saikara, a very good follower, always here for us, and we're here for you, Saikara. Ori and Sissoko, both at fault for the go. They can both get them out of my club. They're both useless in everything they do. And he also says, one shot on target, one in a cup final. FSS. I don't know what that means, but you know. Brendan, we've heard a lot from Seb, so you just rest your vocal cords for a second, Seb. Orion says, okay, would you sell him in the summer if there's a buyer available?
Sissoko, yes.
100% Sissoko.
Oh, probably, but at the same time, who are we going to bring in? We can't sell him without bringing someone in. Who are we going to play there? Doherty? We need to bring someone else in terms of cover. One thing that I want to try and get some kind of positivity was Hugo's performance was incredible today. I thought he was a leader. I thought he kept us in the game. His shot stopping was superb. If we're going to take anything from it, it's that Hugo's performance was superb. And I'm gutted for.
Brendan, I'm not one of these people. So I've been calling all season for various changes. Hugo's never been on my list of the people to move because I think he's a top keeper still, isn't he?
He is. He's superb. He's the World Cup winning captain. He's won the Euros, won the World Cup. Why would we? I mean, yes, he's not even getting on. He's 33 for a goalkeeper. That's not old. He's got a good few years in him, and there are other areas to improve ahead of goalkeeper. But I thought he was. I'm gutted for him because it's kind of like he's going to spend the majority of his career, of his domestic career at Spurs, and won nothing. And internationally, he's won it all. So you're kind of thinking, bless him for staying around. Like I'm hoping he does stay around. I don't think that if he wants to go to PSG with Poch, then we should probably let him because he deserves to win some stuff domestically. No. But he was superb today.
No.
You don't let a player leave just because he's
got 1 year left on his contract. If he's not going to sign he's not going to sign a renewal, we get a bit of money for him, or he goes for free the next year, and he's still going to be a top keeper. So,
well, that look with Joe Hart in goal, it'll be a disaster.
Oh God, no.
Okay, let's get through this. Michael saying, when all the luck in the world could not help us win. Yeah, I suppose that's fair. We did keep them out for a large way. Although, Seb, if I'm being really honest, as far as I'm concerned, City didn't create a lot of clear-cut chances, did they?
I don't know. Did they hit the post? I think Lloris pulled off a couple of quality saves.
Yeah, but they were sighters. They weren't like...
No, they were quite
jitters.
wasteful. Mahrez was wasteful.
Yeah.
Sterling, I think, had a chance or two. No, they were quite wasteful. They did have some good chances. Now, there was a period in the second half, and unfortunately, it was around when the substitutions were made. There was a period in the second half where I thought, I think we could win this. Right, it was before Lucas. It was before Lucas went off, where it just kind of neutralised a little bit. Where I said to my wife, "This is going a little bit end to end now." And then when it goes end to end, it was about a 10-minute period. When it goes end to end, it could be anyone's. You know, we were going forward. There was one time I really shouted at television. Was Kane won the ball on the centre circle, just further forward than the centre circle, and went to go forward, and he had players running, and I don't know what he was waiting for. He looked, he paused on the ball, looked, did nothing with it. I don't know who he was looking for.
That was the Højbjerg chance. That was the Højbjerg chance, wasn't it?
No, it was after that. It was after that. He won the ball, but nothing came of it. Absolutely nothing, because he just paused on the ball. But it was at that time we were actually breaking the play up with Lo Celso, actually, quite well. Lo Celso played a lovely ball forward at one point, and look, they were better than us, but I do really think the subs hindered us. I thought Lo Celso was growing into the game more than Winks.
Hold that thought, Seb. So, Steve Sims says, what was he doing bringing Dele on for 3 minutes at the end of the game and Bergwijn on for 1 minute? Really? What was...
trying to time waste. keep it down to 1-0. Let's try and time waste.
Well, you laugh at that, but apparently I read in the week that when we played them in the league and were 1-0 down at half-time at City, that the players came in expected to get absolutely roasted, and Mourinho praised them for it just being 1-0. That was one of the turning points where they realised that he was so negative that he was prepared to accept a 1-0 at half-time rather than trying to work out how to win the game. So I do think there's a lot... We're so negative. We talked about the set pieces and the throw-ins and things like that. That's going to take a long time to eradicate.
I don't buy that. I think they've been told to play like that.
No, it's the thing that they have by the previous manager. Don't give it away. Play the safe pass. And all you end up is inviting pressure on.
Seb, these players play. They're all internationals. They all play for their international team. They're used to getting different instructions from different managers. I'm not sure that carries, to be honest. So there's two things. Number one, for me, we're completely outclassed by a better side, which I think most teams in the league would be, probably against City. City are the best team in the league, no doubt for me. But for me, it's individuals and the way they look. I mean, Winks isn't just negative under Jose. He's a negative pick, full stop.
No, I disagree with... We'll have to agree to disagree.
Pochettino. Terrible.
We'll have to agree to disagree. Plays for England. He looks pretty good.
I mean, he's playing some public sides in Slovakia and Turkey and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
I honestly thought he would turn up. I was all for the Winks inclusion. I called it. I think I sent a message to the preview yesterday. I understood it. Like, we can't play Tongi and Lo Celso together. They are luxury players.
Let me tell you, the last good game Winks had for us was against Real Madrid. That's about 4 years ago now.
2 or 3 years ago, yeah. But who else is there? Our recruitment's been poor. Like, who else is there?
Skip.
We shipped out Skip. Like, in hindsight, was that a good move? Because Skip has torn the championship apart. And maybe
I'm not sure he has torn the championship apart, to be honest. He's been voted for by
just won the league at a canter because of his shielding. He's been superb for them, and the Championship. Obviously, there are levels.
He's played well, but don't be fooled by the man of the matches. He's got Tottenham fans voting for him week in, week out. So if we're expecting Pele to turn back up in place of Winks, I think we're in for a shock. But yeah, sure, no, but... he would be a good option in our midfield right now. I'm not debating that. He's an upgrade on Winks, which is full enough. If you turn the pod back 3 years, exactly what I said 3 years ago.
I'm sorry, you didn't call Oliver Skip as being better than Harry Winks 3 years ago, mate.
Oh, I did.
Listen, no, you definitely didn't.
I did.
Was the pod even exist 3 years ago?
No,
was there a pod 3 years ago?
Right. I tell you what. I'm going to find the footage, Seb. I'm going to find the footage. A pair of you. I did. And I would put my mortgage on it, my children's life on it, and everything. I tell you now. I said to you, Skip. He's a much better prospect than Winks ever was.
Yeah, I remember you did say that, but it wasn't like 3 years ago. It was probably when Winks had a shit game this season.
No,
it wasn't 3 years ago.
It's 3 years ago. It's 3 years ago.
Yeah. I want to see it I want to see it date stamped, mate.
I'll find you the podcast, my son. I will find you the podcast. Don't you worry about it. Is there a dodgy watch riding on or anything, Seb? What you got at the moment?
Say that again.
You got anything we can bet on it? You know, good deal.
No, I'm not a betting man. Not a betting man at all. But I know. I'm not even. Has the pod even been going 3 years?
Yes.
How long's the pod been going for?
About
See, I'm a newbie.
Exactly.
I'm a newbie.
3
so
years.
episode 1, season 1, episode 1. Caller comes on the pod, calls in and says, "Do you know what, guys? I'm going to say it now because I know this will be vindicated in 3 years' time. Skip is a better prospect than Harry Winks."
I'm going to find you. I'm going to find you the
15
footage.
as well. 3 years ago, he was about 15 years old.
Footage. I'm going to find you the footage. I'm going to play it you, and you're going to say, "I'm sorry, caller. I'm sorry I ever doubted you." You are. I'm going to make sure it's live on air as well. I'm going to make sure it's live on air. Right, let's get to some more of these comments because we've all got places to be this evening, I know. Brendan's going out.
As long as we get done before line of duty, I'm not fussed.
I mean, that's the most important thing to me too, but Brendan's got a boat to catch. A booze cruise, no less. Tom Lucas says, didn't play with bravery. That was the most disappointing part. Kane looked hobbled still. Reggie was awful. Son looked exhausted, as he has had for weeks. No, he just looked shit. Not really exhausted, just shit, in my opinion. Kane, do you think Kane was carried a knock into this game, Bren? I mean, I don't think that had much to do with it, did it? Just didn't get the ball.
He looked very. He looked pretty quiet. He wasn't great. Like there's a lot of times when he just didn't look sharp. He hasn't trained all week. He's trained what, 1 day this week, on his own without other players. So he wasn't sharp. He wasn't match fit, as you say. But then you kind of like with a player like Kane, you'd still take him even if he wasn't quite there because he can give us those moments of brilliance. But he wasn't at the races today. He wasn't sharp. Sonny as well. Again, I just think they're knackered. How many games have we played this season as well? Like this is what our 60th game. I'm plucking a number out of the thin air here, but I think that they are knackered and they're mentally and physically exhausted from 18 months with Mourinho, from all the uproar about the last week and the Super League. I just think that they just couldn't. They weren't ready. And Kane was.
I mean, that's a weak excuse. City have had the Super League nonsense as well, and played just as many games as us, or not far off this season.
They've got Pep, who spoke out against it, and the players. Obviously, we don't have a Pep. Jose was sacked the day after, so we don't have anyone for the team representing the players who would be pissed off that they weren't informed of this change to say, "Hang on a sec, this isn't right." Pep, the day after it was announced, came out and said it was the wrong thing to happen. And so the players are like, "Oh, we've got this great guy."
And Ryan Mason's been asked about 26 times about it, and each time he said, "I haven't had time to read up on it yet." I mean, he sounds like me on a podcast. Scott MB says, "Where was the dare to do spirit overall?"
One second.
Where is the spirit right now, Seb?
Well, he's not there. We're going from a standing start every time, every game, pretty much. You know, we saw it against Southampton, where it was a standing start, and obviously Mason got into them at half time. And actually, I saw it a little bit today. The first 10 minutes of the second half, I thought we were a lot better. Lo Celso had that one opportunity, which the keeper pulled off a good save. But going back to Harry Kane, for me, he just played in the wrong position. Now, obviously, it's from instruction, but he played in central midfield today.
Yeah.
We played without a striker. Yeah, we played Moura left. Moura right, Son left. There was no striker. Even in the second half, when we're pushing it, he's the man that the club is turning to create something in central midfield. Now, that tells you all you need to know about our midfield. And it's unfair on Kane. He's a striker. He's the best striker possibly in the world. And he's been asked to do something. You imagine Juventus going into a cup final and asking Ronaldo to play in central midfield. You imagine Bayern Munich going to a Champions League final and asking to play Lewandowski on the left wing. You know, because that's what we're asking them to do. Dortmund going into a game and playing Haaland on the right. That's what we're asking Kane to do all the time. It's not fair. And it's because...
I don't think Kane, to challenge that slightly, or challenge the statement slightly, I don't think that Mason is strong enough to say to Kane, drop into midfield. I think that's Kane doing that. I think that's because he can't get the ball up top.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. But it boils down to, either way you look at it, it boils down to the fact that our midfield's not good enough. And our midfield isn't good enough because A, they haven't been coached, and B, they've been recruited badly. That's it. If you are willing to put your record signing central midfielder on the bench for a cup final, you have recruited badly. Yeah. There is no getting away from that. Tanguy Ndombele at £64 million should be your go-to guy for a cup final. So the fact that he is on the bench just shows how badly we have recruited. Doesn't matter if he's 80% fit, just not too sure about him. The new manager's not too sure about him. You know, successive managers now, 3 successive managers, I think we can say, have been unsure about Ndombele. Poch, Mourinho, Mason. Not quite sure what to do with him. Now, that is bad recruitment. Giovanni Lo Celso, he might turn out good, and Ndombele might turn out good, but so far, bad recruitment. Højbjerg is running around like a blue-ass fly, too much to do. Harry Winks, too much responsibility, he can't handle it. He could only ever handle responsibility when Dembele was next to him. So, just bad recruitment and badly set up, and a very, very iffy midfield. And what it showed, actually, now it's just me and you, caller, I'll tell you, it was that actually Toby Alderweireld and Eric Dyer are not bad players. They are not bad players at all. They did very well today. You know,
Toby was excellent. I thought Toby was excellent. I thought Dyer, distribution-wise, was pretty terrible. But actually, as a defender, he did okay. But
he's got no they've got no midfield in front of him.
Yeah, I don't.
You can say that Højbjerg is a blocker, and he is. But in terms of play, in terms of taking the pressure off, in terms of dictating play, in terms of forward thinking, looking forward, there's no midfield. There's no, and so you get the whole team is disjointed. Like you said, Kane dropping back, Son losing interest, Bale unable to get on the ball. Lucas Moura was our best midfielder today. He's not a midfielder, but he was our best midfielder. He picked the ball up in the centre and ran and caused trouble. You know, he could have got a guy sent off, but the whole thing's disjointed. It needs a complete look. I am prepared to rip it up and start again, because we've had a season this season where we will ultimately achieve nothing. Yeah. Right? We might get 6th or 7th.
Might get 4th.
No, we won't get 4th. But I
want it in blood that we won't get 4th.
I'll do that if you can provide me the Oliver Skip.
I can provide you with the Oliver Skip footage. It's there.
But either way, we're going to achieve not a lot today. For a whole lot of effort and a whole lot of money, we're going to achieve this season not very much at all. Okay, next season, I don't mind resetting it like we did with Poch and not achieving very much at all, because that first season that we had with Poch, you could kind of get what he was trying to do. And we had the likes of Fazio and Kabul and Carl Norton and all that, phased them out and rewrote his team. And that is what we need to do again. And that's what it's going to take. We're going to have to be patient, because if we get a Nagelsmann or a Rodgers, I hope it's one of those two, because I don't really fancy the look of anyone else. But if we get one of those two, we're going to have to give them a year where they work out and get a structure in place, both on the pitch and off it, whereby players that are way past their sell-by date are phased out, as like the likes of Kabul, Stambouli, Adebayor, Carl Norton, all of those. And that's what's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally agree. Cool.
And it might mean an Ndombele or a Lo Celso or the equivalent being shifted on, because as Brendan said, we've only got room for one of those type of players, and maybe not either. You know, a Sabitzer, for instance, that we've been linked with, would be an upgrade, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. 100%. He would. Absolutely would.
That's 120 million pounds worth of player we've got there that we're talking about not being good enough. So the recruitment is shocking. Absolutely shocking.
I agree. Well, we know the recruitment's not been very good. Hitchens to blame for that.
We can moan about the wages and say, oh, you know, City can afford this player and that player on the wages that they pay them. But if you look at the likes of Fernandinho or Rodri or even De Bruyne, you know, De Bruyne costs less than Ndombele. Let's not forget that. So
you'll like this one. Franco says, Caller, the pod hasn't been running for 3 years. Well, it's 2.5 or whatever. It's pretty close, yeah.
I told you.
It's about 2.5. If it's 2.5, then I'll take it on the chin. But it's out there. And, you know, the sad thing is, I'm now going to spend my evening, rather than enjoying Line of Duty like you, I'm probably going to be literally with earphones in, listening to old podcasts to prove myself right. When I know I'm right, I don't need to prove anything. But, you know, I will, because it's there. And I will have you on this podcast. I'll have you on this podcast apologising to me.
I will say one thing. Obviously, I'm more new to this to the pod than you, and you know, it really one of the things that I love, or one of the things that I've loved today, is some of the dark humour that's been on the Patreon chat. For anyone who's thinking about being a Patreon for the pod, I'm not just saying it because obviously you have to pay a little bit of money, and that's good for the pod in terms of what the content that we want to offer you. But some of the comments they've absolutely creased me up halfway through, and some of the halftime comments about how good we were and stuff like that just absolutely had me in creases. So it was well worth a read.
Yeah, absolutely. And the details are in the scrolling ticker if you want to join Patreon. Please do remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel while we're at it, because then you will get notified of all these great videos going forward. There's so many comments to get through. Simon Laforte, squad is lost from Jose taking them into the wilderness. Also, City have a squad that could fill 2 teams and come first and second in the league. That's probably fair, isn't it? So,
yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
City are money bags.
But what they do, City, to give them credit, is they identify their weaknesses. I mean, they haven't got many weaknesses, but they identify potential points of weakness 2-3 years before those weaknesses become a problem.
Yeah.
And they just bear with me 1 second.
Oh.
Hey.
Good night. You say good night to all the people watching. We've got millions of people watching.
Good night.
Say good night. This is my little boy Rio, who likes to say that he likes Arsenal, but you like Tottenham, really, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Right,
that's
right.
Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Night. So yeah, sorry.
That's
so,
sweet.
Yeah,
I think Daisy, my daughter's just gone to bed, to be honest, without speaking to me. So that's nice that you get that.
Well, he just opened the door and said Arsenal very loudly. I'm not sure if you picked that up. So, but he's a little bugger. But yeah, they identify their points of weakness 2 to 3 years early. They have a plan, and they go out and they spend. Yeah, as much as City have endless amounts of money, They identify well, and they spend 50 to 60 million pounds, which is what we have spent on Lo Celso and Ndombele. Let's not forget that. And I know they can pay them the bigger wages.
Seb, what I'm going to get to, though, is a lot of it's about Pep Guardiola. And I think, he's done an incredible job. He's probably the best coach in the world, right? So he has done a fantastic job at City. I'm going to ask you at the end who we're going to appoint, so I'll come back to that in a minute. But I hear you. Their recruitment is a lot better than ours. Brian Reed says, caller, what would you say face-to-face to Winks right now?
Oh, God.
I'd probably start by saying, show me in one take how you volleyed that tea bag into the cup, because you haven't been able to pick a parcel all year, sunshine. Then I'd hear this voice from down below because he's very short. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so that's what I'd say to Wings. I'd say, get out of my club. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. And to win the Premier League, which is where we should be aiming to win cups. We should be aiming to win things, yeah. And I've said it, and you can go back to as long as the pod has been around. Let's phrase it like that if it's not 3 years.
Backtracking.
Not backtracking, slight edit. I've always said Winks is not good enough, and I don't believe he ever will be good enough. I really don't. And that's that, Seb. So there you go.
I'm not arguing.
I've got Brendan here. I'm going to bring him back in. This is not two of me coming up. Don't panic. We're going to change this. There he is. Brendan's back. Hello, Bren.
Oh, mate. Sorry about that.
I just want to know what happened to you, really.
My laptop battery died. Very boring, simple thing. I'm not at my house. I'm at a friend's place. It's their birthday. And I couldn't find the bloody socket. I now have, and it shouldn't happen again.
What I love about this is this. This is all about you trying to find a plug socket in the middle of the Amazon. That's the issue. Brandon says, caller, which person specifically responsible for today's loss, and why did you choose Steve Hitchin? Steve Hitchin is a terrible waste of time, and we should absolutely replace him as soon as possible, but I don't think we will. Where I was getting to, Seb, so we've got to move on from this. We've got to move on from defeat. We've got a dare to do in the league now, and it's on. 4th place is on. If we worked it out last night.
No,
listen.
No, it's not.
Listen. So did you tune into YouTube last night with myself, Franco, and HG? And I sat there and I worked out the remaining fixtures and how likely it was based on kind of like current form and run it by those two. And we agreed on the following. Leicester would finish with 70 points. And the others are 66, 67. That's Liverpool, Leicester, Spurs, and West Ham. Everton on...
Hold on, you just said Leicester would finish on 70.
Sorry, Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool, and West Ham. Everton on in the picture. So... it could be on, is what I'm saying. We've got to refocus. We've got Sheffield United, obviously, next week. We need to refocus and do our best. We've got a good run-in. That is what I would say. But past that, looking into the future, who's your next manager, Seb?
Nagelsmann. The more I read and the more I look at it, it has to be Nagelsmann. It has to be, and I think it will be as well. Because I think Levy will pay the money. I think when it boils down to it, as I've said on previous pods, Levy is a businessman, and at the moment the business is stalling, right? It's stuttering. There needs a complete change of ethos, a complete breath of fresh air, if you like, into that team. And I don't think you get that even if you hire Brendan Rodgers, who I think is the second. You certainly don't get it if you hire Sarri, who I think is just dull as ditch water. So for me, it has to. He plays progressive football. He encourages youth. He will I don't think he's a fool. I think he'll work out who wants to be there and who doesn't. And let's not get this wrong. There are plenty of players. Even today, there were players on the pitch who did not give 100%. They didn't. Son, I'm sorry, he did not give 100%. That's an issue. We need to sort it out, and you had to have someone. You mentioned Steve Hitchen earlier. He could go, because if Levy's serious about sorting this situation out, then any manager worth his salt doesn't work with someone that he doesn't know and has players recommended to him. He might work with someone who recommends players that he's got a history of, but Steve Hitchen's not that man. Hitchen has to go, and a new person has to come in. A new, young, Pochettino-like person comes in and starts running that club again from top to bottom.
Brendan, who are you saying? We're going to wrap up in a minute, by the way, because I know we've been on quite a while and we're boring everyone to tears. Brent, who are you saying for the next manager? And you can't say Nagelsmann.
Well, can't I say Nagelsmann if it's Nagelsmann? Just make a name up. Allegri, then. Of course it's Nagelsmann. I'm with Seb, though. I think there does need to be a structural change at the club. We need a director of football, someone to sort of, because Daniel Levy has too much power. He clearly doesn't understand football based on his recent decisions to hire Jose to join this stupid Super League. We need a structure in place that if Levy does stay as chairman and the supporters trust are calling for the board to be replaced, but Levy owns 30% of the club. He's not going to go anywhere. So if he stays as chairman, he needs someone alongside him that understands football, and that isn't Steve Hitchen. His recruitment has been piss poor. Fair enough, he understands France. Sorry?
I hate January.
January. Oh, just fuck up. Can you imagine if you're like, I don't know, like a player overseas that we want, Dybala, for example, and Steve Hitchen rocks up, and he's the face of Tottenham. He's the one there to sell the club to you, and he's a miserable. So I'm not going to get overboard, but we need a proper structure. And Levy's all about infrastructure in terms of physical infrastructure. The training ground and the stadium, incredible. But the structure within the club is rotten, and it needs a change. We need a director of football. We need someone that understands the game, so that when Levy does pull the trigger for managers, that there's some kind of continuity, there's some kind of structure in place where it doesn't make a huge difference who the manager is, because the footballing side of things, the recruitment, the development, everything is set. And at the moment, we don't have that.
Okay. Do you know who could be director of football?
Go on.
Who?
Ryan Mason.
Yeah.
I see no problem with that. I see no problem with someone understanding, I see no problem with someone understanding the structure and the ethos of the club and being able to translate that through to boardroom level. He has the trust of Levy, otherwise he wouldn't be in that position already. So that someone like that to work alongside a new manager who has the respect of the players and who is able to communicate at boardroom level, Ryan Mason, for me, if you're looking for a director of football, would be the ideal candidate.
Well, but is he connected enough? You kind of want someone, I get that, but you kind of want someone connected as well. I think City have Dixie Bergenstein, like the guy from Barcelona.
Franco says, bring Baldini back.
Oh, God.
He's connected at least, and he's a name. He's known.
You do want someone connected. I agree.
You do want someone that has presence among the agents with the clubs that is known. So Mason, I'm all for being part of our structure. I don't know if I'd have him as the head of that structure, but we do need someone. Levy has far too much power, makes far too many footballing decisions, which is not his forte. Okay.
Well, we're going to wrap there, I think, guys. Thanks very much for joining me this evening. Seb, over to you first. Where are we going to finish in the league? Come on, give me a prediction.
Sixth. It's the money league. So we're the sixth richest club and we'll finish sixth.
And Brendan, over to you. What's your prediction?
I'm kind of like that. Yeah, I'd say sixth. It's probably what we deserve based on how the season's planned out. I kind of want this season to end. So yeah, 6th. And does that give us Europe? Does it give us the Conference League or Europe, or how does it work now?
6th gives us Europa. 7th gives us the Conference. We don't want to be 7th. We'd
rather
be 8th.
It's what we deserve.
Honest, yeah.
Well, I think we deserve Europa. We don't deserve the Conference. So 6th.
No one deserves the Conference. That's the problem, Brendan. Right, listen. Thanks, guys. A disappointing result today, but I'm sure we're all agreed the future could be bright for Spurs if we bring the right appointment in and get the right recruitment right in the summer. And we will give you all of that coverage here on the Cheese Room. If you haven't subscribed already to our YouTube channel, please do. You'll be notified of every live event we do, and we do quite a lot of them these days. And do check out our Patreon. Details are in the scrolling ticker below for the website. Guys, I want to thank you for your time tonight. Thanks, Seb.
No problem at all.
And thanks, Bren. You can get on your booze cruise now, mate.
Yep, gonna join it. Gonna try and forget about today and enjoy the rest of the day, and look forward to the future. Cheers.
And in the meantime, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Up the Spurs.
Vamos, Spurs.
Vamos, the Spurs.